The fall of Kabul in 2001 was greeted with jubilation, the momentum then with the US. But reluctant to commit its own troops, the US allowed Osama bin Laden to escape from the Tora Bora mountains. Then what many here see as the gravest error of all. Afghans were wary as the US turned its attention to invading Iraq, and they were right. Everything from reconstruction and aid to the fight itself suffered as the US shifted its resources and its focus away from Afghanistan and the commitment it had made to the Afghan people. Not surprisingly, Afghan support for the war began to fade.
What was lost in Afghanistan with the US focusing on Iraq?
The greatest opportunity. The best opportunity for the stabilization of Afghanistan.
That lost opportunity has led the US into a fight that would have been unimaginable 8 years ago when the Taliban collapsed in disarray. Back then, valleys like this in northeastern Afghanistan were peaceful. The US, believing their enemy was defeated, put few military assets on the ground. Another grave mistake. Now even the most remote mountains are killing grounds for determined Taliban and Al-Qaeda fighters, no longer afraid to stand and fight whenever they choose.
Go! Come on, come on, come on!
Year after year, the US blindly claimed success and failed to adjust its strategy or admit its enemy was getting stronger. The fighters it faced became proficient in small unit tactics, which they learned from studying US troops. That can be seen in this Taliban propaganda video, which shows how the Taliban execute an attack on a small US combat outpost. Loaded with ammunition, Taliban fighters climbed to the highest reaches of these mountains. They began their assault before first light, using the type of overwhelming fire usually used against them by the US. Their commander is so certain of victory that he orders his fighters to open fire on the jets when US air support is called in. Taliban, stay in your places, he commands. If the jet comes down again, shoot the wings. With a huge fire raging, the Taliban wait for survivors to stumble out. 12 Afghan soldiers captured, 3 US Marines killed. The US counterattacked, and 3 days later the abandoned post was recaptured. But forcing an American withdrawal was a victory for the Taliban, a sign of how far they've come since the US thought they were defeated.
Defeat is a very strong word. Will you ever defeat an insurgency in total?
Will you?
Well, it's challenging. I think you got to get it to a moderate level of chaos, a level that's accepted.
An acceptable level of chaos may not be what the US went to war in Afghanistan hoping to achieve. But it may be how success is measured if it's enough to stop Al-Qaeda from threatening the US again. Lara Logan, CBS News, Kabul.